Welcome to the Sound Mind Strategy Podcast with your host, Evan
and Anina Blankenship.
This podcast is aimed to be an in-depth discussion between husband and wife power couple where we take on challenging topics in the mental health and wellness arena.
By trade and training, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, certified professional coactive coach, USA Cycling National Champion, and I love to push my limits both physically and mentally.
As for me, I am currently in a master's program for sport and performance psychology, where I'm also on track to become a certified mental performance consultant. I've also been coaching athletes for the last 5 years, helping them reach their truest potential.
We're both very passionate about athletic performance, mental skills training, spirituality, and we love to take a holistic approach to helping people find harmony in their mind, body, and spirit.
We believe that there's greatness inside of everyone. Our mission and the mission of this podcast is to help you unlock and operate within yours. Hello, everybody. Welcome back, or welcome to the Sound Mind Strategy Podcast. This is episode number 10, and alongside me is my beautiful wife, Anina. Say hello.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. I guess, Anina, how's everything going? How's the week?
It's been pretty good so far.
That's good.
It's been good. I've been feeling very loved. Had quite a few friends send me some really thoughtful gifts. From different baby books to cute little shirts for when I'm pregnant, and little teas and little chews too to help when kind of having some of that nausea that I'm going through right now. So it's been really nice. I feel very blessed and fortunate to have people caring for me so much. So.
Yeah. So for any of our new listeners, we are new to the understanding that Anina is pregnant. We are expecting. So
yes.
How far along are you?
So I'm 9 weeks today.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So we're learning. This is obviously our first, well, maybe it might not be obvious, but this is our first. We figured we'd had a lot of people, reaching out, and we're like, oh, we got this. We've had dogs. We're good, right?
Exactly, right.
Just completely kidding. But no, it's been good. Excuse me. So I picked up a book for me. It's called We're Pregnant, First Time Dad's Pregnancy Handbook by Adrienne Culp.
It's super cute.
It's been fun. It's just short little blurbs, just quick little chapters on talks about what's going on with mom, how her body's changing, how things are going, gives you updates on baby and how baby's growing, and just kind of what to expect. It's just been a really fun little handbook for me to just he's really big on the new duties of dad, some dads don't start dad duty until the delivery date, right? So moms are already, they're 9 months ahead. They're mom in their mind, and living and doing early on, right? That whole 9 months. So there's that 9 month gap where he talks about. I know a lot of dads are, hopefully the trend is changing, and I wanted to really make sure for me, my family, my wife, my child, that I start now, that I'm dad now. So we tease and joke with friends and stuff like, I got to start making better decisions, but really you kind of do. I mean, no more are my decisions just for me or just for Anina and I. Now we have to think about how everything we do impacts little one,
right?
So
little bean.
It's been fun. It's been really good. So he talks about don't be asked to do something, or don't even just say, hey honey, what do you need? Just do something, so it's been really fun.
It's been neat to see too, because I notice you just doing things a little differently, which has felt really good. Just that attentiveness. So I do appreciate it. It's been nice.
And honestly, I mean, not to just be all this back and forth of thank yous, but no, that means a lot that you're noticing. And I'm not doing it for the thank you. I'm doing it because you deserve it. You're carrying on quite a lot. So it's been fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Any way that I can kind of help out and ease this newness for both of us, Yeah.
It's appreciated.
So, I guess really, do you want to tell kind of what books are you reading?
Yeah, so right now I have one is When We Became Three, and it's like a memory book. It's really sweet by Jill Carl Weiner. It's kind of talks about, Evan and I when we first met, and kind of has us go over some of those memories, and then talks about like, with the baby, what are things like kind of even like ways we want to discipline and just all those parenting things. So it's a really nice book to like kind of get some of your thoughts down on what you want to do too, kind of moving forward and seeing if you guys are on the same page or if you need to have a discussion about things. So I really like that a lot. And we got some homework to do in that, just so you know.
Well, no, that's good. I think that's great. Like you said, you don't want to be having those discussions on how you guys are going to handle situations, or how a couple will handle a situation with their child in the heat of the moment. You want to like already like, this is what we decided is the best.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can obviously make adjustments as you move forward, but you'd like to have some thoughtfulness.
A little ballpark idea. Yeah, that is nice. And then also the pregnancy journal, which has been so cool. It's like a day-to-day guide for pregnancy. And that's A. Christine Harris who wrote that. And it's really good. So there's like, gives you like a short blurb each day to read. And Evan and I have been doing it in the evening, reading it together. And it's nice because it's like real succinct and just talks about, what's going on with the baby developmentally wise. Like right now, baby's growing eyelids and its feet are no longer webbed. And so it's just, it's so fun to see.
I know like that one, the journal that you're reading, and then the Dad's Pregnancy Handbook that I'm reading, there is a little bit of that overlap on like the development stuff and what's going on with mom, but
that's nice.
No, that's really cool. Like it's fun to know that. It's good to hit that a couple of times. Like, oh yeah, she is going through that. Or wow, that's amazing. Baby's growing crazy fast right now. That's awesome.
Right.
So that's been really cool. Really, I kind of think that that's a really good transition point into the big topic of the day. So just different things like this, it's talking about the different things the different roles that dad should play or could play, especially during pregnancy.
Yeah.
There's
a huge piece of things. Yeah.
He touches on
it's an important role.
Yeah. So you're going to be like registered dietitian, the daddy doula, the home CEO, conversation starters on just different things we need to talk about. How to be budget savvy, stress reducer, bonding time, fun projects, pregnancy empathy, postpartum empathy. So it's really just like some roles that we have, some different things to daddy daycare. So there's all these things. But I mean, really what that boils down to is love, right? How to show love to your spouse, your partner, whoever. So that's really like, that's the topic of the day. There's a book that we have read.
The 5 love languages.
It's been a few years since we read it, but we thought it was really important to kind of get it back out and go through some of the key points again, and some of the stuff like, oh yeah, I'm this and you're that, but I guess you want to tell us a little bit more about the book?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. It's a book that's been around forever, but it's a really neat book that really helps you understand where you are at, like what kind of fills up your love tank and what fills up like your spouse's or your mate or whoever, what fills up their love tank too, which is really important because in a relationship, to feel that love is obviously a crucial piece to the relationship. And without that, things can start to crumble. So it really gives you a sneak peek into like what areas, perhaps your mate needs to feel loved, and gives you different tips and tricks on being able to do that as well, which is really helpful because, like, for instance, words of affirmation, that may be like really hard for you. Like, how do I even do that? Like that's
to express it.
To express it, right? Like
Right.
I don't really ever operate in that way. Like, where do I begin? And so it's really nice. It breaks it down and gives you ideas on how to do
are
these.
There's 5.
There's 5 love languages.
Can you just want to real quick just name them before we kind of dive into them?
Certainly. So there's words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
Now, of these, like, why does it matter? Like, if I don't know how to do words of affirmation so well or something like that, why does that matter? Like, why is it important to know something that might not be what you need or want?
Why is it important to...
Like, if I don't really care about words of affirmation, why do I need to know anything about it?
Well, because I think it's important if that's what your partner needs, then knowing about that can only further enhance your relationship. I mean, it's going to make them feel loved, which then is going to, in turn, when they feel loved, they're going to give you more love. And so it kind of is this like a nice reciprocal union of being able to be there for one another.
So, I mean, I don't want to... I've read the book, but I know there's probably plenty of people, listeners that haven't. But so just to be clear, it's not like all women love flowers and all men want sex or gifts or, a Harley or a new truck or whatever.
Exactly. It's
right?
not like gender specific because each person is unique in what they need. And maybe society has told us that that's what you give a man and what you give a woman. But this book really reveals that there's a lot more to it. And not everybody, you can't just can't be classified by gender.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's been great to read again.
So obviously we're saying that the two people within the relationship probably operate within different love languages.
Typically, yeah. I mean, in some relationships, like what I read in this, you'll find that they're both, physical touch. That's what they both need to feel loved. And that's, but a lot of times from what I read, you have different love languages. And so...
More than one different or different within the relationship?
Yeah, you can have more than one. I know in the back of the book, it's really nice because it has like an assessment for you to do. So that does kind of help you figure it out some too.
Okay. So let's just say I read the book, take the assessment. Will I have one love language, me personally, that I operate in?
You'll have one that you score the highest in, perhaps, or you'll have some that are tied. Like mine, I had 2 that were tied. As far as like the
ranking,
the ranking of them. But yeah, typically there's like one that's higher, and then you'll have like a second and a third, and kind of so on. So, yeah.
So you'll have one that you operate most in, but
yes.
And I think most people are going to need some degree of all of them, probably. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I'd say like we can all probably thrive in some way, shape, or form of having them multiple.
But there might be 1 or 2 on the list that is just like, it's
nice when I get it, but I don't have to have
it. Don't really care too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you mind telling us what you scored highest in? Or or just how you ranked them?
Yeah. So I scored the highest in receiving gifts. And then after that, I went to physical touch, and then words of affirmation, quality time, and then acts of service.
Okay.
So yeah, receiving gifts was my number 1, and then physical touch. Actually, they were like neck and neck, really.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Just for me, like when I took it, like I also scored the highest in receiving gifts. And then I was kind of split between acts of service and words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Those were mine. Which kind of striking, like physical touch wasn't in my top level, which interesting, I guess, kind of goes against like what we said societal norms
right
have told us what they should be, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And it's not saying I don't operate in that. It's just
that's not one of the top ones.
Not my top rank. So that's kind of neat.
It is kind of neat because I think it gives us and I think too when I sit back and reflect and think how you respond to me a lot of times, or how you act to me. Like, you are very good at like having really thoughtful gifts. And you're very thoughtful when you give. And it's not just like, oh, here's a box of candy. Like, you actually put thought into it, and make it really meaningful. And also, like, I always think about the words of affirmation. Like, you're very encouraging, always saying like really kind, uplifting things too. So it makes sense that those are yours when I really sit back and reflect on it.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that kind of like I noticed the most. Once you learn what you score the most at, what your personal love languages are, or how those are tiered for you, you do start to realize like that's how I show love also, because that's what I want to receive.
Exactly. And sometimes we don't even realize it, right? Like, you just do what you do loving other people because that's how you show your love. But then your tank can be full if you're not getting it back.
Empty.
Yeah. Or sorry, it can be empty.
Okay,
if you're not getting, just check and make sure you're listening.
Yeah. Well, and that's really important because like for you, like, okay, we both share gifts. But like if we go down to another level, like our second tier, or let's just call it just say for conversation's sake, let's just say our number one ranking ones we're different. Like, so not just because I need love in a certain way and you need love in a different way, like I need to learn that and know that and give you the type of love that you need. Like if it is spending time with you, or the uplifting words of affirmation, or whatever it is, acts of service. So if it's gifts, and or mine's gifts and yours is quality time, like I can't just always be giving you gifts because you're like, thanks, it's great, but I just want you to spend some time with me.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think once you kind of tease those out and figure that out, can be a huge game changer.
Yeah. I know it was whenever we like just had the aha of just reading the book and going through it and just identifying, like obviously, yes, like we love each other and care a lot about each other and just want to make each other happy. But if you don't know what really makes your spouse or partner, tick, like,
right.
Like you could be pouring so much thought and effort and energy into it and just kind of spinning your wheels because that's not really what they're after. They need love in a different way. Exactly.
And like when I was reading one of the examples in the book, he was saying that the husband's like, he went in for the marriage counseling and they're like, he's like, I do everything. I pay the bills. I wash the cars. I take the trash out. Da, da, da. And the wife is like, he's like, so in his mind, he's like, I'm doing everything that a good husband should do.
Right.
But in the wife's mind, it's like, no, I want quality time. I want to go on that vacation with you. I want to go on those walks with you. Like, so it was kind of, once they figured that out, it was like a huge game changer because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause he was doing those things out of love.
Exactly.
Right. For
her.
But like, and she's I'm sure was very appreciative of that, but it was just like, I need time.
This, right.
I need you to just be around me.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So like the first, kind of want me to go into them then? Like what the different
please.
ones?
Like I know we kind of just dove off there, but maybe dive into them a little bit. Like they kind of sometimes are a little self-explanatory, but maybe not. Let's get into them and kind of see what you got.
Yeah. So that first one of words of affirmation is, just simply like using words that build the other person up. Just like, I really appreciate, you washing the dishes, or wow, you look really nice tonight. And we know that when we're giving these verbal compliments, it's more motivating than, nagging words per se. That can really help motivate someone when you're saying something like really kind like that to them. Another thing too is kind of, I liked where it talked about to give encouraging words, which means to inspire courage. So, we all have different things in our lives that we feel insecure about. And, when our partner notices a strength of ours and, calls it forth for us and says, hey, you are an excellent writer. I really like those blogs you were writing, those articles you're writing. Like, this is something you're really good at. that may be the motivating piece that gets that person to start writing that book they've always wanted to write. So it's really being attentive to like where you see your partner's strengths. And I know we keep saying partners and couples and everything, but I also think it can go as far as to like, friends or family members, like all of this, because we all need love.
How about coworkers?
And coworkers. Right. Totally. Because we all need to feel loved.
As a sports psychologist, also coach-athlete relationship, right? Like, what motivates your athlete? What motivates your coworker? What motivates your boss or your employees? Whatever level you are, you interact with humans, right?
Exactly.
And we all have personalities. We all receive love, give love differently. And, love is sometimes that word that like, oh, that's only reserved for family and spouse, partner. But like, no, like, it should be a meaningful relationship between two people that spend a lot of time together,
Yeah.
Like there should be some level of love between people. Like one of the cool things about it, like, in the Bible, like back in the days when it was from translated, obviously English only has one word for love, but there are several words for love, in the old language. So, like, but is it more intimate love? Is it friendly love? Is it, so it's really neat to be able to say like, no, I really care about you, or you did awesome. And that's all kind of stemming from love, right?
It is. And it like kind of with the affirmation, too, it makes me think of like, I see this unique talent, this gifting in you, and I'm going to call that forth for you because I see that I have that vision, that vision for you. And kind of like, okay, how do you practice this? If you are trying to give more like, words of affirmation, I think it's important to listen for other people giving words of affirmation if it feels really foreign to you. That's an important thing that you can do. It's in movies all the time. We hear people doing it to one another. So jotting down notes. I read where like one gal,
about what she would see.
Yeah, about what she would see, and then like gave it to her husband at a week's time, like different qualities I see in you or things I appreciate about you, or just a simple love note or a simple just encouraging note to somebody.
Or like something I thought was really cool is like, I noticed you did this today.
Mm-hmm. Kind of
like,
I caught you being good.
Yeah. Or it's just like, hey, remember, like I didn't even ask you to do that, but I was having a crappy day. And the next day, like I tried not to just dump on you, but like you picked up on it and you just cared on me and loved on me and brought me flowers the next day, whatever it was, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge, right? It's like when we start to tune our eyes and our ears to look for those things, we really can. And it's a skill like anything that's going to take practice, but over time it can really happen and you can do it.
I mean, little things like, man, I just noticed your phone case was kind of falling apart and I just bought you one because you needed one.
Right.
Just like if it's gifts, then that means a lot. It's just because like I noticed something and I filled a need for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be huge and iconic and expensive and, earth-shattering. It's just, I think the key thing here is consistency.
Yes, you're so right. Consistency. It's not like, well, one and done, I did it, so why is your love tank not full?
Yeah. I told you I love you when we got married.
Right.
I know we just hit the 12-year mark, like that. If my feelings for you change, I'll update you, but that doesn't work, right? Like I can't just say when the status changes, we'll do a status update. So until then, you just got to know that I love you.
Right.
Or do I need to tell you consistently? Like, because you need to hear that. Not that you're questioning. It's nice to hear that.
It is. And to be completely honest, at first, it can be draining, I'm sure, when that's not the way that you're used to practicing because it's new and it's hard and the mind wants to do what's comfortable and easy and least path of resistance.
Right.
But it's, I think once you start to build a habit out of it, it really can make a difference.
Yeah. So what's number 2?
So number 2 is quality time, which really is more about, it's more than just sitting in the same proximity to another person. It's being present with them and not thinking about 500 different things. It's that emotional.
Wait a minute.
What?
So if you need quality time, and I can't just sit on the couch next to you and scroll through Instagram, and that doesn't count.
And that does not count.
I mean, like, I can even like put my shoulder next to you, like, and that does not count as time.
It does totally not count because we're not like. It's
like you actually need my attention.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a totally different feeling, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. And it's really what quality time, what I love about it is it's the outcome provides a quality memory. So it's like you guys are doing something to build a memory together. So whether it is, you're climbing up that mountain and you get to see the beautiful waterfall at the end, or you're going rock climbing for the first time together, or whatever. You're just doing something that, like, perhaps, your partner has said that they really wanted to do for a long time. And you start to make a list of those things that they've said they've wanted to do. And maybe you start small. You try to do one thing together a week, and then that list can keep growing and growing. And so it's just continuing to like sprinkle those things in, and it doesn't have to be going somewhere always. It can be just, let's have a good quality heart to heart conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That reminds me, like, I think it was James McDonald. He's Pastor James. He's a Chicago area pastor. He was giving a talk on relationships. This is, I don't want to mess this up. I probably will. It's been a year or so since I've heard it, but it was real brief on just kind of what him and his wife have outlined for quality time together. Just kind of how they should show love.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. It was like how they do this: 1 hour a day, 1 day a week, 1 weekend a month.
Oh yeah.
And then 1 week, a year. So
yeah.
like it's just set. Like that's just that's our quota. Obviously you can go over, but
I love that.
That's just what we need. Like, because I think if you're not hitting that minimum, whether quality time is your language or not, like you're not doing your relationship any good, right? You're going backwards at that point.
Right.
I mean, they need work.
They do, right?
Any relationship needs work. If you're on a team and you need work, and quarterback and his receivers, they need work. Pitcher and his catcher, they need to work together. They need to read each other. If you're on a cycling team, you need to work together. You need to know how body language,
attune to one another,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to know that stuff. If husband and wife, partners, you got to know each other. You got to be able to pick up on the cues. Yeah,
which you bring up an important point too, is like reading the nonverbals too. If somebody's saying one thing and their body's looking different, they have really clenched fists and kind of a clenched mouth or whatever, clenching their teeth. It's like kind of calling that out too sometimes of, I'm noticing that you're saying this, but your body language is, doing X, Y, and Z, for example. So it kind of said when you are that attuned to spending quality time with one another, you start to pick up those different cues that person does. And it also talks about another important piece of spending quality time together is learning to not interrupt, letting that person say fully what they have to say. It even talked about, there's research that says most people interrupt, I think it said like every 17 seconds or something in conversations. So I think it's another important piece to like be mindful of, like let that person say their piece and then you can say it, so kind of just having this, I don't know, this like fluid dialogue, I guess, so the other person doesn't feel cut off.
Why is that? I kind of have two theories. I mean, on why people cut each other off or interject or during conversation. What do you think?
I think it's so dependent on each person, but sometimes I have this great idea. I don't want to forget it. So I'm going to interject right now.
Yes. That was my first one. I don't want to lose my train of thought.
Yeah. And I don't know, that's what really, I know that's been for me before. It's like, I didn't want to lose my train of thought. So
I want to get this out there. This is something I need to get out into their ears. They need this information.
Right. I don't want to forget. What's your other theory? Like, what other one are you thinking of?
Just lack of respect.
Yeah.
What I have to say is way more important than what you have to say.
Right. Yeah. And that's a huge piece that can take a lot of time to like work on, because I think, I don't know, I know as a generation, I don't know, whatever, I feel like it's easy to interrupt. And I don't know, I've been really trying to be more cognizant of that too, to not do that as much.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's funny as you say the word, as you're talking about interrupting, my wheels are spinning a million miles an hour. Like, I want to say something, but she said, don't interrupt, be quiet. Like, no, really, it's just that inner dialogue of like, just listen. Mm-hmm. And if I have something really good to say and it comes time to say something and I forget, who cares? Like, I mean, it'll come back or something else will come up. Just
it will
be in the moment.
Exactly. It's what like you said before, be where your feet are, right?
Yeah, like, it's just like be in the conversation and just let them obviously we've all been in the like, you just hear that, like, listen and be in the moment and don't interrupt and hear what they have to say. And then you get in the conversation with the person who just like won't quit talking. They'll talk for an hour, tell you every single thing about themselves and just say,
now I'm being tested.
Gotta go. Like they just dump their whole life on you and then leave, ask you for all the advice and then don't wait to hear it and then leave. It's just like, oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Those are hard. And I think there are times where you can interrupt. Like I know in coaching, you can interrupt sometimes because sometimes there's a thought pattern that is not serving that person anymore. And sometimes you need to interrupt to like kind of break that, break that thought.
Exactly. I know Michael Gervais does that a lot. Like if you listen to his podcast, I know the first couple times I heard it, I was like, wow, this dude's rude. Like he just like, he has these like super high profile guests on and like they'll start telling the story and like right in the middle of it, he'll just like slam in there. It was like, let me cut you off. Like,
yeah.
And he's even really blunt about it. But then, I think someone who had heard his podcast and stuff, like asked him about it. He goes, actually, I do that on purpose. It's an interviewing technique because a lot of these people, they give a lot of interviews. They give a lot of talks.
Yeah.
So there's two methods. He goes like really long in his podcast, get really deep. So you get past all of it. But also when you just slam in there, like it completely throws him off track.
Right.
So it takes him to a place of like vulnerability and honesty instead of like, let me just give you this awesome soundbite. So
that's true. I
mean, so it's kind of neat. So it depends on the role. Like as an interviewer or a coach, sometimes, but don't do it just to be a jerk and like, I gotta get you vulnerable. Like just hear them out,
Right. And it's a good point too, because it makes me think a lot of times as people, we've probably rehearsed our stories a lot. And we know them. Like we've talked before, like the person could totally leave the room and you'd still be doling on about your story. So I like that technique that he uses. Can you use that in marriages? I guess you can,
Absolutely.
Right?
I don't know.
Starting today.
I know I'm definitely not saying who or where this happens, but there is a guy that I see semi-frequently and he is just the talker, and it's almost become fun to me to like stir the pot and like get him rambling about something super weird in a small group of people, and then I take off.
You're so cruel.
And then they're stuck with him. But
that is a nasty trick.
But it's fun for me. Let me have my fun. But, all right, so okay. Moving on. What's the next one?
So the next one is gifts. So just receiving gifts. So, these gifts can be simple, they can be creative, they can be inexpensive. It's getting out some paper that's in the recycle bin and folding it up into a card and just saying, I love you. I was thinking about you. It can be something that little, or picking up a flower, some flowers for somebody, or, just to kind of like, it doesn't have to be this huge thing, but I think the important piece of gifts, and I know why I really like them, it's like in that exact moment, right then and there, you were thinking about me.
That's huge.
Yeah. And it feels so special.
Yeah.
I feel special.
I think, like you mentioned, or my example, like the phone case one, like I've seen you carry that busted phone case, forever. It's not doing any good. It's just a little floppy thing. It's all busted up and it's like, yeah, I just got you one, like
you did.
And so it's just like that little thing is just like, it didn't mean anything. And actually, it's like kind of protecting me and you financially in case you drop it and bust your phone.
Right.
But it's just like, in that moment, like there's nothing loving about a phone case, but it's just like
was
you
thoughtful.
said, I noticed something that you have with you every day, and I want to make sure you enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. And thank you for doing that. I didn't know you did that.
Well, yeah.
And I also like what it talks about too in gifts is that your physical presence, especially in the time of crisis, is the most powerful gift you can give if that's your spouse's primary love language, is the receiving gifts, because your body
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, certainly. So it says that like your physical presence in the time of crisis is the most powerful gift you can give if your spouse's primary love language is gifts. Because your body becomes the symbol of your love.
Wow.
And if their presence is important to you,
So in essence, kind of quality time becomes a gift?
Yeah.
Like you said, in a time of crisis, like specific moments, like if you can't just be a cheapskate and just say, well, your thing is gifts. Oh, I'm here. I'm giving you my body, right? I'm giving you my presence.
Right. Right. But in those hard times when you kind of have that other person, it's like a gift they're giving of themselves to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really big.
Yeah. And I like too that, if I think too, for all these, maybe you're don't get to do the assessment or whatever, but this is your love language. Sometimes it's just letting that other person know, like, hey, I feel really good. My love tank feels full, whatever verbiage you use when you do X, Y, and Z. So sometimes, because we don't know what you don't know. And sometimes it may be like, well, duh, doesn't he or she know I need this? But not necessarily. So I think just being able to be vulnerable enough to articulate that can be huge too.
I was kind of thinking something along that lines as we were going through, and when we were kind of talking about picking up on the nonverbals and the cues and everything, and that was the point I wanted to make. Sometimes it just needs to be verbal, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's right. That's communication, just the openness and honesty of like, man, I love when you do this for me.
Yes.
I love when you hang out with me. I love when you just like shower me with praise, like that means the world to me. Like when you notice that I was struggling with something, when you saw me overcome something, when you saw me be courageous in this moment, and that's something that really makes me kind of clam up, like, and you gave me praise for it, and you commended me for it, or you gave me a card, for about it. And like, that's huge.
That is huge. Yeah. It's a great
just
point.
To say like, hey, I know like you like gifts, but I really would like to just spend some time with you. Like you've been giving me a lot of gifts, and I thank you so much. I appreciate that. But can we just hang out? Can we just go on a walk? And
and just be with one another?
Yeah. So it's just be thankful and be honest too. Like if you need your coworker, your partner, your coach, client, whatever, if you need something from them, like, hey, I need something from you.
Yeah, I agree.
You're important to me. You're in my life for a specific reason.
Yeah.
And I love you. I care about you. And I need, I want to give of myself to you in so many ways. Like I would like to receive too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. And I think too, it's as simple as, writing yourself a reminder to do these things, putting in your phone as an alert, or, putting on your to-do list, because it's something, things that are important to us, we'll put down somewhere, someplace so we remember them. So sometimes just putting it in your phone as an alert, whatever, adding it to your to-do list for the day just can be helpful. So yeah. So number 4 is acts of service. So it's really just doing things that that person would like for you to do. So if you know that they like having the dishes clean, and they like having the house put together when you get home, and they like the trash taken out, just different things like that. That's a way you can show your act of service, and it does require a lot of thought, planning, time, effort, and energy when it's done, with a spirit of love. And I think the important piece for all of these is that when we're doing them is to do it with a spirit of love, and not a, kind of a I don't know, just kind of a crummy attitude if I have to do this kind of thing, and just without love, because they're going to pick up on that. If you're
right.
doing it in the wrong state of mind.
Or having to be told 100 times, like, can you take the trash out? Fine. Like, and then you start to do it yourself and like, oh, fine. No, I'll do it.
Right.
That's your love language. I'll do it. But like, I also want to know, like you mentioned on this one, this is just for you and me personally, that you mentioned that acts of service didn't really score that high for you. But in reality, I think it does in a certain degree, because you come home and it's not that you need the acts of service, but you come home from work and you just are a busybody. That's just your personality. And you don't like disorder, things in disarray. So if the dog's been playing and the pillows are everywhere and toys are everywhere and I make little piles of clothes everywhere, and if that stuff's just out, like, I mean, in all reality, the house isn't really dirty. It's just kind of like
a little disheveled.
A little, yeah. But you will not be comfortable in your own home until it's clean, until it's organized.
That's a good point.
So you do need that acts of service, or you really, really appreciate the acts of service, and you're very thoughtful and receptive to it when I take the time to, oh, Nina's going to be home. And I notice this. I look at the clock. Oh, she'll be home soon. And I just pick up, because I know you will transition from work into home smoothly and with no stress. And because you won't even say hello. Like, you will just like, you won't take your coat off. You're just like instantly.
I like dive bomb to what I see.
Whatever.
Ooh, there's dishes. Ooh, there's this.
Lawn, whatever. You're just doing it. So it's just like, I need her to just come home and relax.
Yeah.
So I need to take that on.
Yeah. And you are right. And that was one that, like, and I think you make a great point, is that sometimes we fill these out. And then when we start talking about it, I'm like, yeah, that is true. Like, I do really thrive when I come home and it's like, wow, he must really care about me. He did the dishes. He did this. The house is picked up, because it's like, it feels really, really good for me. And I feel like, oh, he cares. So yeah, that's a good point. I wasn't even thinking about that, but that is really a high one of mine.
I'm doing it out of service.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it because I know you're going to go do it in a very like hyper stressed state of mind.
Yeah.
It's not that you're going to come home and just like, we're going to be chatting up the, how's your day? Love you. As we both do the dishes or laundry. It's like, no, you're doing it like angrily, you're like not mad at me. It's just like, you just can't physically or mentally, you just can't.
Yeah. It's really hard for me to see.
It's like nails on a chalkboard to come home and see something out of place.
Yeah. It does something to me, or I'm just like, oh, the cake, like it just, Which, as I'm talking, I'm like, Anina, hello, you're going to have a baby.
Well, I know. It's
going to be tore up all the time.
But I think it's the transition from like work to like, oh, more to do. Great.
Right.
And you're not necessarily mad at anyone, but like, on the weekend when Cooper's been playing and stuff's out, and it is the same way as if you were to walk home, you're not stressed about it.
Right.
Like, we did this together. We'll pick it up together.
True.
It's just normal life, but to walk into something, it's seemingly chaos from the chaos you just left.
True. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Gosh. I'm glad we talked about that one.
So that's acts of service. Let's move on to the
final one is physical touch. And we know it's a way to connect emotionally with someone. Research even showed us, like, as far as with babies, babies who are hugged and kissed do better emotionally than ones that are not. And so that just really shows you, the impact of a physical touch. It doesn't have to be, this elaborate thing. It can be sitting closely to somebody, or reaching out for their hand when you're going on a walk, or, just anything, patting them on the shoulder, or giving somebody a high five,
Yeah, that was a big point. Like, yes, this is designed and geared towards like an intimate relationship.
Yes.
All these, but they do this can be broken down into very general terms between any relationship. Like, obviously everyone knows that I'm going to be more on the sports side, but physical touch still goes a long way,
Right.
like high fives instead of just like, hey man, good job. Hey, whatever, you did great. You hit a home
bumps,
run. The fist, all that. It's just like, that's a sense of connection. You see the teams hugging after, we just watched, the Stanley Cup playoffs, and, there was no shortage of hugs in the professional ranks, like these men love and care about each other.
Yes.
They sacrifice, for each other.
Yeah.
So
and that's a huge.
Yeah. And like bosses to employees, like coach to client, like, sometimes physical touch between certain relationships is not appropriate.
Yeah.
But like a coach to his team, high fives, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Obviously there's some appropriateness there. But within other relationships, like you got to really to figure out what the other person in that relationship needs if their language is touch, right?
Yeah, that's very true. And I know this was one that was kind of uncomfortable for me for a long time because I never really saw it modeled in my life growing up. But it is something I like. But it was foreign to me. It's like to reach and hold your hand, or like, how does this work? Or even giving a hug to a family member felt so awkward to me.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm kind of making myself do more because I know that as humans, we do need physical touch, and it's important.
I mean, we're both reading these pregnancy journals and guides and what to do. It's just like, those are one of the things they talk about. It's just that skin to skin contact between mother and baby, like actual physiological changes take place during skin to skin. And it's like, don't neglect this. This is very important for the development, mentally and physically, for your baby. It makes mothers like produce milk. Like there's serious things that take place in physical touch. Like we are social beings that are designed to work in a social network and touch. That's why we have touch receptors,
Yeah, so true. Yeah, our body's been designed to receive those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It makes me think too, even like I was reading that it's 15 to 30 seconds, somewhere in there, of, petting an animal or whatever, or even a person, giving a hug. But like, I know I do this with Cooper in the mornings, like give him like a 15 to 30 second hug, because there is studies that shows that like you both basically get high. You both get endorphins off of it.
Yeah, you get a nice little rush of endorphins, the feel goods. I mean, that's why, that's kind of where those studies of like, when they say people live longer that have pets,
right.
Well, that's why. I mean, it's something to love on, something to receive love from. I mean, it's not just like having this animal in my house makes me magically live longer. There's reasons
There's a
why.
Connection.
It's a connection. It's that kind of stuff is just so fascinating to me.
It is to me too. It's really cool to think about. And it's even like, if you don't have an animal, for instance, like go volunteer at a local shelter or something like that and love on some animals and just see, kind of how your mood changes or how you feel after doing that too. Just of giving that physical touch of loving another being too can be really cool.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be animals. I mean, there's so many places that you can just volunteer your time and be around people and just take care of people. And so, I mean, you can give quality time to people. You can give physical touch, like hugs and high fives and all that,
right.
You can, and all that, like if you're giving of your time and in a certain way, that is an act of service, right? I mean, you can be encouraging, like you can kind of wrap a lot of these all up into one.
Yes.
You really mean, it's just really neat. Obviously, you kind of do, because they all kind of stem at love, right?
They do, exactly. They really do. So yeah, I think that's kind of the takeaways, is just kind of like learning what yours is, learning what, other people's that you're around is, and then just trying to make a really concerted effort to try to make sure that, you're doing things to help keep their tank full.
There is one thing I wanted to touch on real quick. I know you probably kind of hear of that, like the 7-year itch within marriage, but I think every relationship, I think the time frame probably varies depending on the relationship and the circumstances, but there is that honeymoon phase. Whether, I don't care if it's a new job, working with a new coach, marriage, whatever, there's that time where like that newness wears off, and that initial attraction of like why we interacted,
Right.
wears off, right? Because the work that we were putting in and that excitement that we were bringing kind of just like slows down. And I think that's where that comes from, is like we didn't take the time to communicate. We didn't take the time to learn what they needed from me.
Right.
And I didn't educate them on what I need.
Very true. Going both ways.
And so from that, then that's when that, like, I think in marriage, that's the 7-year period. In other ones, it might be, new jobs. You might, the newness wears off in a year, 2 or 3. Working with a coach, it could be a year, 2 or 3 or 4. Just that.
So true.
And then it's just like, I need something different. I don't love you anymore. Or you're just, or this isn't working for me anymore. I need something new. I need a new coach, or I need a new job. I think like this can go a long way to retention, like retaining your employees, retaining your clients, keeping your coach. If you are the athlete, if you are the client getting coached, like tell them what they need, or give information about yourself. Like sometimes clients just like don't give any information. Sometimes you got to open up and be vulnerable. Like these people are here to help you.
Right.
And they want to help you,
But you got to let them know, because they don't know what they don't know.
Sometimes some coaches may not like open up and make it might not be a two-way street. It might just be like, well, you just got to give me all the information. I'm not going to let you in.
Right.
I'm the coach. I don't think that's a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, so there's so many facets, but that's a great point about the 7-year itch, because that really, it makes sense. And I think you think about like even just in marriage relationships, when you first started dating, it's like, you did all these things together. You did that. You were real attentive, wanted to make sure they're always happy. And so it's kind of like, how do I keep that going? And it's like, I think this is an excellent way.
You did all the love languages.
You did.
Without maybe knowing what you were doing.
Exactly.
Or what they needed. So because you're probably just doing them all.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
you're both feeling good.
Yeah. And then as time wears on, you get in your routines, you work the job, you each develop and take on specific roles that you have, that you've divvied up, and you kind of just like get set in your ways.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. Well, good conversation. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I highly recommend the book.
Yeah, me too.
And going through and taking the survey, kind of, obviously it's something that you both need to do.
Yes.
And figure out kind of what love language you speak, what they speak, and how to serve that, I think it's really cool to be able to sit down and have that conversation together. Like, I think some of our best conversations are just like kind of when we're talking about these things and just being open, honest, and vulnerable.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Bringing a non-judgmental attitude to those conversations of like, well, your number 1 is my number 5. So, like, well, tough. You're going to have, like, we're in this together, Right.
We're going to have to give and take a little, and it may be uncomfortable, and walls may come up because I am really freaked out having to like grab your hand and sit next to you and, do those things, because that's not how I do it. So it's.
Or my time's so important to me because I'm so busy, but like they need your time.
Exactly.
Whatever. I mean, it goes, you can make the scenario for any of the 5, but that's kind of what it is,
Yeah, and you're right. And all these can be, I think about that quote I really like, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. So when we're being challenged in these areas, it's going to pay off huge dividends for us later on.
Yeah, and who knows? Like, I mean, the hope and I think the goal is you'll always have that strongest one, but like, why not boost the rest of them?
Right.
They're all great,
I agree.
They're all wonderful. They all enhance relationship.
Totally.
At all levels. So, strengthen your strengths and like kind of work on your weaknesses.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great way to put
So
it.
kind of all that kind of spans this too. I know this kind of wasn't a typical like conversation, maybe. I don't know. Like, let us know what you thought about the topic. Like, I think it's extremely relevant and very useful across many and probably all relationships.
Yeah.
Like we kind of talked, we're social beings and all have different personalities. We give and receive love, motivation, encouragement, everything different ways. So it's one, just being attentive to the people that you allow in your life. And if you're in their life, like be attentive to them, like serve them, honor them, care for them.
Yeah.
And they should want to do the same for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Typically, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think once you turn them on to this book, it's going to help even more. So.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think it's, like obviously we're not paid to endorse anything. It's just something that's kind of been really meaningful in our life. So we'll have a link, or I'll have the titles and authors in the description.
Okay.
At the podcast, and also I'll put the pregnancy ones that we're talking about too.
Oh, perfect.
Put those in there if people want to check them out. New dads. This is a cool one. It's a fun read, and then the other journal that you're going through is also fun to kind of.
It is to go through together.
I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I'm so excited too. Like we're just counting down the time. It's like, oh, when do we got to start getting stuff?
Oh, I know.
But,
it's so much to think about, but so fun. So
yeah, we're still looking forward to the gender. We're going to find out gender in what is that? A couple weeks?
Couple weeks.
Probably 3 by the time we actually know.
Yes.
But cool. And then just let everyone know, Anina and I are house hunting. We have been for a long time, but kind of like slowly. We're not first time home buyers, so we're very picky. We're renting now, but like, okay, we're ready again.
Yeah.
So this, having the new one on the way, is just kind of like lit that fire a little bit more. So be thinking about us, be praying for us. If you know of anything pretty cool, just
Missouri, Illinois, we're kind of looking.
Yeah, we're kind of looking just within that stone's throw of St. Louis.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate it, everyone. Thanks for the love and reaching out to us. We just heard from a good friend just how impactful one of our previous podcasts was. So that was that kind of stuff. Like, to me, like above the conversation with Anina, like to me, I'd still do it if no one listened. But to have someone actually say that it was meaningful and helpful to them, like that means the world to me. So
that's so good.
Please, if this is impactful to you in any way, like let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
And two, if you know somebody that you think it would be impactful for, just share it with them.
Yeah.
That's
that does great for us, like to get our message out there to get more listeners. So that would be great. Like, share, subscribe if you're not already. That does a lot for us. So I guess with that, we'll wrap this one up. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you guys. Bye.